this meeting to order. This is the Board of Selectmen's meeting, and I don't have my agenda handy at the
I
moment.
didn't print it either.
Is there public comment for anything not on our agenda this evening? Hearing none, I'm going to move. Was that a comment?
Well, this is Kim Miller, and I know my husband's trying to join, and he did have a public comment.
Oh, okay. I will
he's
allow.
late.
I will allow public comment after the approval of
Oh,
minutes.
there he is.
Ah,
All right.
hi, Brian Miller.
We can't hear you, Brian.
Unmute.
Hi. All
Hey.
right. Little technical difficulties. Should I make my comments?
Please.
Okay, so I'm representing the Bolton Booster Club. I'm the president at this point. And as folks who know about the Bolton Boosters, we support athletics and fitness type of goals within the town of Bolton. And so in that regard, there's an interest from the group, as well as I'm sure many other people, to get some answers to some questions pertaining to the track, right? So as well as the soccer fields. So my understanding is that they're looking to potentially bond the track and the soccer as kind of one package deal. And hope someone talking.
Go ahead, Brian. You have the floor.
Okay, so my questions are, is the package, is it going as a package deal, and is it going to referendum this May 18th, I think? Or is it some later time?
The answer to that is it will not be on the May 18th referendum. There has not been a referendum date set yet. There are a large number of capital items, which I don't have in front of me, but can be found on the proposed May 18th budget under capital improvements.
Mm-hmm.
And those things include the track, the soccer field improvements, a fire truck, town hall improvements, a roof at the center school. And there's 5 things. But anyways, it's not on the May 18th ballot. May 18th will just be the budget. There will be a town meeting at some point in the future. I can't tell you when that will be because we haven't got there yet. We're still waiting for estimates on some other of those improvements I listed. And then we also have to decide, we, the Board of Selectmen, have to decide if it will be one question or multiple questions. In other words, can I just vote for the soccer field? Can I just vote for the fire truck? Can I just vote for the school roof, or will it be one bond package? And I don't know how much that bond package will be at this point, but my hope is that we will be ready to take that to the voters before next budget referendum, which would happen in May of 2022.
Okay. All right, so I think you answered a couple of my other questions, whether it be a single line item or kind of batched together, and you said you don't know yet. To be determined, I guess, right? And then I think the other question is, do you know what would be included in that package? In other words, is the track, as an example, is it being entertained that there be lights or stadium seating, things of that sort?
No lights at this point. However, wiring conduit under the field for lights will be included. And I don't know the true answer to the stadium seating, but there is some sort of bleacher accommodation planned in the package. I
Okay.
can get that information for you.
Okay, so yes, so that'd be very helpful. And then lastly, I guess I would say, well, two things. Thanks for the information, of course, is that the boosters are very interested in helping in any way we can. So certainly, if there's anything we can do, we'd be happy to do that, whether it's, campaigning a little bit, within the town with some signs and things of that sort, or whatever might be helpful.
Thank you, Brian. I appreciate that. One thing that it's important to note to the members of the Board of Selectmen and any other commission who might be here is that once the Board of Selectmen has announced the bond package and set the referendum date, we elected officials and appointed members of boards and commissions are prohibited from sharing anything other than facts. So it would be helpful to have someone handy who can support a particular project if that is their desire. So thank you for that offer.
All right, thank you. Those are all my questions still. Thank you again.
Okay, we've had some additional people join us during Brian's comments. Do any of you wish to speak to an item not on our agenda this evening?
I'm just here for the fire department.
Would you identify yourself, please?
Yep, my name's Amanda Gallagher.
Okay, could you spell your last name, please, Amanda?
Yep, Gallacher.
Okay, thank you. All right, this is the last call for anyone who wishes to speak under public comment. Okay, moving on, approval of our minutes of April 6th, 2021. By the way, I was speaking today to Josh Kelly and he sends his best regards to all of us.
Okay, great.
The new house is still being painted. The new job seems to be going well. And he lives walking distance from the office.
Oh.
So
I read this. That doesn't mean I approved this, but the essence of the minutes is how I understood it. So I will move the approval of the minutes based on that. If there are technical errors, I did not see them.
So you've moved that we accept these minutes as
As
presented.
presented. Yes.
Okay. I will second that. I read them in detail and found nothing factually incorrect. Are there any other comments on these minutes? Hearing none. All those in favor of approval of the minutes of April 6, 2021. I believe we are all on video. Would you, if you're a member of the Board of Selectmen, would you raise your hand if you approve? I see hands raised from all members of the Board of Selectmen. That is unanimous. Our next meeting, it's hard to believe we had all of these, was April 8th. It was a special meeting on charter revision. Is there a motion to approve?
Also move under the same circumstances of the previous one. Read it, I didn't notice anything that was not different from what we had discussed and agreed upon.
Okay. Do we have a second?
I second.
Thank you, Kim. It's been moved by Bob Morris, seconded by Kim Miller. Any other discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please raise your hand. I see 5 members of the Board of Selectmen with their hand raised. That is approved. Those minutes are approved. Next is our special meeting from April 12th. Are there any additions or well, actually, is there a motion to approve these minutes?
I've got to pass. I don't have that one in front of me.
Oh my, so I was just going to say that's the one I didn't read.
Yeah, well,
We certainly could postpone this until our next meeting, if that is the will of the Board of Selectmen.
I would so move because, yeah, I got wiped out just going through the other two in all candor.
Yeah, well, there were 46 pages in the
Right.
packet, so I can understand your hesitancy. All right. Yvonne and Jim, will you please make a note that the minutes of April 13th will not be approved tonight and need to be on our next agenda. Next on our agenda is appointments, and Jim, I do not believe we have any. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Next, correspondence. I'm sorry, we have an email from Tom Ansaldi, who is a resident of Iroquois Trail. And I actually thought we had, his communication is in the packet. And he's asking for no parking signs on both sides of Iroquois Trail for the first 200 to 300 feet. I had thought we had addressed this in the past and had decided that it wasn't, that the no parking signs weren't warranted, but I couldn't find any mention of it in our minutes. Does anyone else have recollection, Bob Morris especially?
No, honestly, I don't. That's when I read it, I was trying to think back myself if we had taken an action on it. I don't think we did. And I would like, quite honestly, I would like, if my thought is a recommendation from our resident troopers on how the best way of dealing with that. They might have a solution other than just posting a sign that people won't adhere to.
Well, that's the other thing, that just posting a sign doesn't necessarily mean adherence.
Yeah, and in all candor, I read that yesterday, and I really haven't given it any depth thought as to what might be a good solution to that. I can see where if it continues to happen, it could be a problem, but I'm not. I quite frankly don't have a solution in mind, but I would like, my suggestion is that we would ask our troopers for a suggestion. They may suggest that, but I would like their input before we make a decision.
Yeah. The other thing is 200 to 300 feet may not stop people parking on Iroquois. It would just push them farther up towards
Right.
the intersection of Mohegan, especially if they're bicyclists. But so, okay. Jim, will you reach out to Dan and Brian and get some feedback on this for us?
I absolutely will. I can share with you some feedback from our highway foreman if you'd like.
Sure, please.
So this communication originally came to Lance Dimick, our highway foreman, and he and I discussed it. And he said that he's been monitoring the issue since it came to his attention through the email. And what he's noticed is that he has not seen people parking on both sides of the road at the same time. He said what he's observed is if people are parking on the side of the road going uphill from Bolton Center Road, other people tend to follow suit. If they park on the opposite side of the road going downhill toward Bolton Center Road, people tend to follow the first car that parks there. He has not seen it as an issue. He's not seen it create any sightline issues or traffic issues at the intersection. His thought was that potentially we should monitor it a little bit longer and make some decisions based on that. But I think he also said that people do need a place to park. So if we do decide to do something, perhaps it would be just on one side of the road and not both.
Okay, so Jim, can you reach out to Mr. Ansaldi, please, and let him know that we have some information and we are going to continue to monitor the situation and
I will
get some
absolutely do that.
advice. Thank you, from our resident troopers. All right. With the approval of the Board of, if there are no objections from the Board of Selectmen, I'd like to skip over item 6 at this point and go back to it and go on to ongoing business. If that's okay with the board. Are there any objections, Kim? Was
Nope.
that was
I
an
was
okay?
saying I'm fine. Yep.
Okay, okay.
I should have done that, right? Okay.
Ongoing business is the approval of the 2021 Green Bank Agreement. I didn't see that was included in the packet. However, it is the reauthorization of the Green Bank agreement with the Connecticut Green Bank, which allows our businesses who wish to avail themselves of solar loans to improve their property, and allows the town to bill the interest on an annual basis to, well, obligates actually the town to renew, to bill on an annual basis those individuals with an amount that's given to us by the Green Bank. We've been doing that now for 6 months with Marcus Communications, who took advantage of this loan program to put solar at their tower site on Box Mountain. So I would like a motion from the board of, Mike, do you have your hand raised?
Sorry, no, I don't have my hand raised. I'm
Okay.
just clicking my pen here, that's all.
Thank you. Thank you. So I'd like a motion from the board to approve reauthorizing this agreement. It's something that they're going to ask us to do every 6 months.
I'll also move. It's a good group. It's a good organization, provides opportunity for businesses and also the town itself. Should we get into any one of those solar related projects. So I'll move that we adopt, what's the exact word?
Reauthorize the Green Bank agreement.
That also move.
All right, is there a second? Kim is seconding. Okay, any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor, raise your hand. I see 5 hands raised from the Board of Selectmen. That is unanimous. Moving on to the employee separation fund transfer. This is one of those items on the budget transfer, proposed 2021 transfers that was sent to you earlier this evening. It was sent out, I'm guessing around 5:30. Jim, do you have it so you can share?
Yes. Can you see that?
Not yet.
No.
Hmm.
It's coming. And there it is. All right. If you look at, stay there, Jim. If you look at lines 23 and 26 of this proposed transfers, there are 2 items that we're proposing to transfer to the separation fund. You'll remember that the separation fund is set aside to fund the retirement payouts of some of our union employees. There is 40,000 in professional and technical services that we had planned for last year as part of the budget. There's also going to be a surplus this year in the highway separation fund. And that is caused by the fact that 2 of our higher paid employees are currently out on workers' compensation. So this transfer will allow us to increase the separation fund by $75,000. And that should cover an imminent retirement and allow us to totally pay out without totally depleting that fund.
If I may,
Sure, Bob.
we've done this on an annual basis a while back as we have many loyal employees and they have a lot of years under them when they retire, a lot of unused sick time and unused various leaves and vacation time become accrued. That's what this is all about. And it's important that we have it properly funded, and this gives us an opportunity to do it. So with all that said, I'll move that we do those 2 transfers.
All right, thank you, Bob. Is there a second to that motion? Hearing none, I will second that.
Sorry, I seconded. I was on mute.
Oh,
Sorry.
all right, thanks, Kim.
My bad, my bad.
Me too.
Yvonne, will you make sure the minutes reflect that Kim Miller seconded that motion? Is there any other discussion on that transfer? Hearing none, members of the Board of Selectmen, if you are in favor, please raise your hand. I see 5 hands. That is unanimous. All right, thank you for that. I'm going to skip item C and move on to item D at this moment, which is approval of the 300th fireworks with Hebron. I saw Pam Sawyer here. I think she's still here. Pam, do you have some comments on this?
I do. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Thank you.
The 300th Anniversary Committee would like to ask the Selectmen for their approval for the 300+1 fireworks that is going to be held June 26th at the Hebron Lions Fairgrounds. The doors will be opening at 4 p.m. going through the evening. The plan is to have food trucks there as well. And we're pleased to announce that Bolton's own band, Still Picking, Dennis Sheridan and company, will be playing between 5 and 7. There'll be a band also later. So we are looking for approval from the Board of Selectmen to expend the funds to share this wonderful evening of fireworks and fun and gathering outdoors, which will be after the May 19th opening that the governor is planning on having for COVID. So we're asking for the approval so we can finally get a small piece of the Bolton 300+1 underway.
Pam, can you remind us how much we'd set aside for this?
I'm going to turn that over to Bob Moore. He has the actual accounting.
I do.
Good. Thank you.
It was $10,000 and it's broken down into 2 elements. It's $7,500 for the fireworks themselves. And the other is for having some of the co-pays for the additional police and all the other incidentals that would be required because we're making it that much bigger. I also want to make a note for everyone listening that Pam noted that it is outdoor, everything's outdoors. There's nothing that is indoor. Even the bounce houses that they had prior years will not be there, so that we will be fully compliant with all of the governor's what we assume will be remaining mandates. That's it. So the total amount is $10,000.
Thank you. And I just want to remind the Board of Selectmen that these funds are set aside and are in the anniversary fund. So it is not coming out of current or future budgets.
Sandy, I'd also like to say that this is the same amount of money that had planned on for last year. There's been no increase at this time. So we're pleased to say that we're able to hold the line on it. And they told us that it was up within a month. If we had to cancel, we could.
Excellent, Pam. Is there a motion to approve this expenditure?
Well, I will make that motion.
Okay. Is there a second to that motion? Mike Aramita has seconded the motion. Further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please raise your hand. I see 5 hands. That's unanimous. Thank you.
You all on the celebration.
Sandy,
Yes,
if I could ask just one last question to
Sure.
be considered, certainly for perhaps even the next meeting, where the 300th committee is looking forward to finding the town's answer. When are you planning to reopen the facilities in town so that the other activities that had been hoped up for and planned for a year and a half ago can continue to move forward, and hopefully we can get some more fun things going. So we're just looking for a possible date for the reopening of other town facilities.
We have not reached that conclusion yet. We continue to talk about it with our emergency management committee on a weekly basis. It will not be before probably at least mid-June and potentially later than that. It depends on how things are going. This past weekend, we had an increase of 5 cases in town. So the spread has not stopped in Bolton. If anything, it is increasing. So we're watching that. And we'll be in touch.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Is anybody else getting the echo, or is it just me?
No, I've heard it too.
Thanks, Bob. All right. Moving on to consider and act upon budget transfers and/or appropriation requests. Jim, can you bring that spreadsheet back up again?
I'm going to do my best.
Thank you. All right. I'd like to just go through these with you and talk a little bit about what each of them are. Most of them are to fairly insignificant numbers to cover transfers from one department, one line item in a budget to another. The first is in $997.13 from other payroll. I'm sorry, to regular payroll to other payroll, and that's to cover the costs of part-timers and interns through the rest of the year. The next item is $201.21 from town clerk other contracts to town clerk payroll. The assistant town clerk has been working on a special project and has been working more than 35 hours a week. The project is nearing completion, and this will allow that to continue. The $30,000 from library regular payroll to library other payroll. The rationale here is incorrect. The rationale should be to cover the retirement of a part-timer who is entitled to some of those employee benefits. We can pay that out of library regular funds rather than having to dip into the separation fund to pay that out. That person has already retired and is due their payout this month. The next is emergency management payroll. This is $212.92. When Jim Rupert moved into the interim administrator's role, he retained his emergency management role, and we are under obligation with the federal government to pay 14% of his salary from emergency management. And he had a salary increase as a result of that. So this is to cover that change. 13,000 from administrative and technical services to administration equipment. This is to cover the cost of a new server for town hall. Our server is old. It is temperamental, and it has its foibles. So this will allow us to purchase the server. This is an advance of a purchase that was anticipated for next fiscal year. The next item, 18,000, is a request to transfer from admin and professional technical services to capital improvement for the fire department for purchase of a trailer, and that's 18,000. We already did the separation fund. Next item is from administration property to furnitures and fixtures. This is to purchase new office furniture for the town clerk's office. We have in the town clerk's office now a historic desk, and it's no longer efficient under today's office situation. There is a plan in your packet that shows what the planned purchase will be. It will allow for much more efficient use of that and safe use of that space. 1,000 from admin advertising to administration equipment is for the purchase of an owl for hybrid meetings. There's information in your packet on that, but this is not the hoot owl that you may think. This is an owl, which is an acronym for a camera, a video camera that will allow us, once we move back to public meetings at town hall, to continue to do our meetings in a hybrid basis. And that will be permanently installed in town hall, and we'll be able to do that. And, so that's that. $500 is another request from admin advertising to equipment. There's also some information on this in your packet. It will purchase a wall mountable touchscreen so that seniors coming into the senior center can sign into the building. They can sign into their programs. They can register for programs. We don't yet have a time frame for seniors returning to the senior center, but we're hoping it will be soon, and we'd like to have this in place so that we can track who's been in the building and when, for both contact tracing and safety purposes. Let's see, highway road repair, from highway sand and salt to road repair, $46,000. Our salt shed is full. Our sand piles are full. We have some funds in the budget for repairs to Hebron Road. And it's from Green Hills south to the Hebron town, or I guess that's actually the Andover town line. I keep calling it Hebron, but I think it actually is Andover. With the 200,000+ we have in road repairs set for this, and this transfer, this will not only allow us to accomplish the entire project prior to year end, but also to hire a flagging company so that both the construction and traffic can happen. Normally, we would have our highway crews handle that. We are currently down, as I mentioned before, 2 guys in highway due to injuries. And I don't want to, since we have the funds in the budget, I don't want to postpone that simply because we're low on personnel. This is the construction season, and I think it makes sense to do that. And we have, Jim has chatted with our highway foreman, who is currently out on leave, about this proposal, and he is in favor. $3,000 from Fire Commission maintenance and supplies to Fire Commission equipment. And this will cover flashlights, hand tools, salvage covers, rescue rope, et cetera, for the Fire Commission. $1,000 for professional services to other supplies to cover the cost of water and firefighter awards.
Drinking water.
Drinking water,
Yeah.
Is that
bottled
true?
water.
bottled water, okay.
Yeah.
Next, from Fire Commission communication to Fire Commission uniforms, that's $5,000 to purchase turnout gear, safety vests, helmets, and boots. The next is from other professional services to office supplies to cover the cost of copy, paper, stationery, computer monitor, and EGC tuner.
Owner.
I don't know why the computer monitor is coming out of the fire budget. It should be coming out of equipment at computer equipment at town hall in the administrative budget. And I don't know what an EGC tuner is. Chief, can you enlighten us perhaps?
Sure, it's probably a typo, EOC toner for the copier, which the Parks Department put in there 2 years ago.
Ah,
We found out near the end of it, and Mrs. Parsons is not going to be very happy if we run out of toner there. The other thing,
okay,
on a monitor, we have purchased them in the past, and it's come through the office supplies. If you'd like it to come out of another area, that's entirely up to the finance department. It's not my purview there, so whatever.
okay. Next is from building and land use, other payroll to building and land use professional technical services. And with Jim moving over to the town administrator, Patrice has been picking up some additional responsibilities in that area. So that's what that's for. And then the next one, building and land use regular payroll and to professional technical services, 17,500 is in anticipation of additional time for Patrice. You'll remember that Patrice is not an employee, but rather a consultant that we pay on an hourly basis. Jim, can you move forward? Or is that it?
That's it.
Ah, excellent. All right. Are there questions from the Board of Selectmen on any of these transfers?
I'll move that we approve all these transfers.
I'll second your motion.
All right, it's been moved and seconded that we approve these transfers. I am in favor of all of the transfers with the exception of the capital improvement trailer. I believe that this is an item that appeared on the capital improvement plan without prior notice, has not been considered by the voters, has not been considered by the Capital Improvement Committee, and I cannot vote yes on that transfer. Any other comments?
And one of the reasons I'm supporting it is, and what is that it does relieve the the issue there on, as far as spacing, and I know that in our long-term plan, there is an addition to the firehouse, but like any other bonded item, there's never a guarantee when it'll come forward or that it will be approved. I think this simply satisfies in a short-term basis, I think a critical need. Yes, it should have been, I agree, it should have been brought forward sooner, but it wasn't. But the need is still there, and I think it's an appropriate use of the funds. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Did you read the communication from the chairman of the Fire Commission? I think we are going to be, if you are not speaking, would you mute yourself, please? Thank you. The communication from the chair of the Fire Commission indicated that the fire department intends to, one, retain the current command vehicle, which most of us recognize as the white Suburban. And in addition, that will be in addition to the vehicle that will be joining the fleet very soon. So we're going to have one extra vehicle to house right off the bat. And further, they intend to retain the current ET 334 when a new truck is obtained. So we're very, very close to being totally out of space in very short order. And this, at anything, is a very temporary solution.
Right, and number one, all these issues of retaining vehicles and this and that, I think that's something that should be discussed on our subcommittee, under the appropriate subcommittee, but all these issues. This way we can give it the proper discussion it needs outside these transfers. And you know, I read that letter too, and I think that's something that we as you know, our subcommittee, which is, I don't know which one it would be under, but
Public safety.
yeah, public safety. And my brain is sort of half right tonight. I'm sorry, but I think
You going to buy?
under it should be, I think all those items should be discussed there. I think outside of, I mean, the motion here is to approve these items here, and what else, those other items that are listed in that letter. I think those are issues that should be discussed at a subcommittee, and for us to be further, if we're going to further discuss it, we should discuss after that. That's just my comment.
So this is Kim, and I'm not part of that other subcommittee. I did.
If you are not speaking, would you
mute that
mute yourself, please? Jim, can you mute?
Only if I stop screen sharing.
Oh, all right, that's fine.
You can't mute them. Okay. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah. So I did poke to get some more information and take a little mini tour so I could sort of get the visual for myself about what it was we were talking about. And it does seem, and I get the whole thing that it should have come earlier, but it does seem like a inexpensive, viable solution to a problem. And, you know, I know, at least when I chit chat with people in the town, like people think of the fire department, and I feel like they're more emergency services, right? Like it's not just fires, because I agree, we don't have a ton of fires, but every time there's a car accident or, you know, a fire smoke detector goes on or gas leak or, you know, whatever, it's that group of people that are showing up at your doorstep in the first, you know, 2.5 minutes. So it did So I just wanted that context around, you know, how much the fire department does to support us. It's really emergency services. And I did feel like from my view of the situation and how things are in there, that it is an inexpensive solution that might be able to buy us some good time. And then even after that, it still has, you know, some good usefulness.
Any other comments from the Board of Selectmen?
Yeah,
Bob, you're muted. Bob, you're muted if you're trying.
Nope, you're still muted.
There you
I
go.
respect Sandy's position procedurally, but I agree with Kim, and I took the liberty of squeezing my little butt over at the firehouse between the fire 134 and the lockers, and I agree this is a temporary solution until we can figure out the long-term. I agree that it's appropriate.
All right, thank you. Anybody else have comments? All right, hearing none. All those in favor of the motion to approve these transfers in bulk, please say aye. Or actually raise your hand.
I
Kim? All right, that is unanimous. I do want to mention to the fire department that I voted yes because and I'd like the minutes to reflect this, that I voted yes because of Bob Moore's and Bob DiPietro and Kim's suggestions that this was a temporary solution to a long-time problem. It is not a free pass to future expenditures like this, in my mind. It is also not a free pass to willy-nilly coming up with expenditures that you expect the town to fund. Cheryl? Cheryl?
I think that's an inappropriate comment, Sandy. The willy-nilly. I don't think, as fire commissioner, I have been on the fire department and the fire commission from a number of years and chair of that department, that we willy-nilly come up with things for the town to purchase for us. And I find that comment totally inappropriate.
And
I
perhaps I was out of line. I will ask that the minutes not reflect that comment, but I do want to make it very clear to the fire department that I expect procedures to be followed, and the correct procedure is to bring, and I know Mr. Rupert shared that with you at your last fire commission meeting, because I listened to the entire tape. If you have a request for a capital item, please put it in your 5-year plan. Please put it in the 5-year plan. Even if you decide it's something the town cannot afford at that point in time, please put it in the 5-year plan so that it is not a surprise to the voters, to the Board of Selectmen, and to the Capital Improvement Commission.
Sandy, can I
Yeah.
comment? Then
Yep.
if I completely agree with everything should go in the capital plan, but I also will comment when the town administrator who you supervise comes to the fire department and says, we have some money funds this year left over. What do you need? And we give him an answer or her an answer that it's not us circumventing the process. The town circumvented the process by coming to the fire department and asking what you need. Had that not happened, we would not be in this situation. So I would recommend that the town administrator, who it may be, either Jim or whoever, not make those comments to staff anymore unless they want the staff to request items they need.
In
Period.
that item has been addressed with the former administrator and the current administrator, and future expenditures will have a cost limit. Future items like that will have a cost limit attached to them,
Yep.
as long as I am first selected. Let's move on to our budget, through our budget.
Sandy, Chief Dixon is asking to comment.
Oh, I'm sorry. Chief Dixon?
No, I'll reserve my comments. Thank you very much.
Moving on to, actually, we need to move back. No, I'm going to go on to new business because I don't think our entire audience wants to say through properties and facilities. Set the location of the 2021 budget referendum. We have a letter in your packet that came from both registrars asking us to set the location of the May referendum at St. Maurice's Parish Center. The location meets central location, space, parking, handicapped accessibility, internet connectivity, and the ability to follow COVID-19 protocols. I have had a comment from a resident asking if it is possible to cover religious items that may be visible during that particular event. Does that, Jim or Bernice, do you know if that's possible?
I can speak to that. I can check. The only place that I'm aware that there are religious items that would be on display are in the library section of the parish center, not in the main area that we would be in.
Okay, thank you for that information. I was trying to remember and I couldn't. All right. Given that, is there a motion to set that as a location?
So moved.
It's been moved by Bob Morris, seconded by Bob DiPietro. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, raise your hand.
Aye.
That is 5 hands I see raised. That is unanimous. Was that my echo or somebody wishing to speak? I think it must have been my echo. All right. Too many papers and I've lost the agenda. The call and resolutions for the annual town meeting. A revised version of that was also sent to you this afternoon.
Could we have that on the screen? I'm sorry, I didn't read it.
Jim, can you share? Oh, I guess you are sharing that. While we're waiting for Jim to share, we're proposing Thursday, May 20th at 7 p.m. It will still be allowed to be a Zoom meeting. The purpose of the meeting will be to hear annual reports from each town board, commission, agency, and office, to discuss the proposed annual budget for the town of Bolton, to authorize the Board of Selectmen and the treasurer of the town of, oh, here it is. Item 3, to authorize the Board of Selectmen and the treasurer of the town of Bolton, when the annual budget is adopted, to borrow on specific items such times of money as may be necessary to meet the expenses and obligations of the town. And then item 4, which is a bit unusual and not on our normal annual town meeting, is to consider and act upon 5 capital improvement plans as presented. Oh, no, that's right. As presented by the Board of Selectmen in the annual budget document. And that is the normal acquisition. If we move to the next page, Jim, these are the actual resolutions, and this is what we will be doing, actually voting on at that annual town meeting, that the annual reports are accepted as printed. I believe, Jim, the annual report is currently at the printer. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
Item 2 is discussion of the budget. That is just if there are items to discuss. Item 3 is the allowance to approval to allow the Board of Selectmen and the treasurer to borrow as necessary until tax dollars come in. And then item 4 is that the 5-year capital improvement plan as presented by the Board of Ed and the Board of Selectmen in the annual budget document. And if you cursor down, those items that are currently proposed in the budget, oops, they're not on. Maybe they were just on mine. I can read them to you. To the tanker truck and related equipment acquisition, 41,000. Oh, actually, no. That's that. And then item 5, which was not on the original call and needs to be, is that resolved the unauthorizing of the authorized but unissued debt be accepted as presented by the Board of Selectmen in the official bond statements for the following projects. And they total $643,120. That includes Board of Education facility improvements of $1,860, town facility improvements of $9,386, the aerial fire truck of $10,850, Center Road property acquisition, $10,000, the high school project, $70,024, and the tanker truck and related equipment acquisition of $41,000 for totaling $643,020. Each of these projects has been long completed. What the town did when we authorized the expenditures was to authorize borrowing up to a specific amount. It turned out that each of these projects came in less than the bonding. However, as long as the town continues to leave this borrowing authorized, it reflects on, if you will, our credit report, as if it's money we could borrow if we needed to. Unfortunately, because these projects are all completed, we can't go borrow on them anymore. So our only option to fix our credit report, if you will, is to deauthorize each of these expenditures. Or I'm sorry, deauthorize this potential borrowing. The expenditures are spent. The projects are completed. And we will just be cleaning up our credit report.
This is an accounting procedure, sounds like.
That's exactly what it is. It's to take the bond rating agencies and the bond underwriters and literally make our credit report look better to them.
Yeah.
So that will be on the call to that meeting. So
You need a motion to approve the call as presented?
I do.
I'll so move.
Thank you. Is there a second? People are coming back to my office after
Second.
dinner, so. Kim, it was moved by Bob Morris, seconded by Kim Miller. Any further discussion by the Board of Selectmen or questions from anyone in attendance? Hearing none. I'm going to call for a vote on the approval of setting the date of the annual town meeting for May 20th to be a virtual meeting and approving the otherwise the call to the meeting. All those in favor? 1, 2, 3. Kim, are you voting?
Yep.
All right. I see 5 hands raised. That is unanimous. Thank you.
Sandy, did you have a second?
Kim,
Thank
Your
you.
second.
Sorry, what? I seconded it, yeah.
all right. Let's see. What did we, where am I? Meeting approval of fireworks. We did appointment to the Eastern Highlands Health District Board of Directors. Josh had been our representative to the Eastern Highlands Health District Board of Directors. And Jim, I'm assuming you are willing to take that position.
Yes.
So I'd like a motion to approve Jim. I
So
think
moved.
Bob Mora
So
moved,
moved.
Kim Miller seconded.
Second.
Any discussion? All right. All those in favor of the appointment of Jim Rupert as our representative to the Eastern Highlands Health District Board of Directors? I see 5 hands. That's unanimous. Thank you for doing that without being prompted. Building Safety Month declaration. Jim, I'm going to turn that over to you.
So this is something that we've done a few different years now. I think for those of you who are on the Board of Selectmen, the International Code Council is the group that sets the model codes for building codes actually internationally. They're widely recognized across the world. And May is being recognized as Building Safety Month, as it is every year. And the ICC has asked building officials across the state to ask their municipalities to join them in declaring May Building Safety Month. Usually when the Board of Selectmen decides to do this, we follow that up with some sort of an article in the Bolton Bulletin explaining Building Safety Month and the importance of building codes to create a safer community.
Is there a motion? Mike?
I'll move it.
All right, Mike moved. Is there a second? All right, I'm Bob DiPietro. I saw your hand first.
The hands went up.
So it's been moved and seconded. Are there any questions or discussion? Seeing and hearing none, all those in favor of declaring, is it May or June?
Hey,
May, as Building Safety Month, raise your hand. I see 5 hand raised. That's unanimous. All right, let's go back to subcommittee reports. Jim, I'm going to turn this over to you. Is there anything here that needs discussion other than the 2021 budget report?
I don't believe so.
Okay. Do you have a budget report to share with us?
I don't have one available, sorry.
Okay, all right. Jim, Jill, and I met yesterday and went through the budgeted expenditures. We are currently at about where we should be for expenditures. There are currently about $1.8 million unspent in the funds, in funds, and we anticipate that most of that will be spent in May and June, especially given the transfers that occurred tonight. We had committed $175,000 previously to the Board of Finance to return from unspent funds this year. After tonight's transfers, we believe there's another $175,000 which could be returned to them. And that does include all of the transfers that we made tonight. So I don't need a motion, but I do need consensus and agreement from the Board of Selectmen that we can commit to the Board of Finance to returning an additional $125,000.
Sandy, can I?
Sure.
Not a motion, comment. It's this time of the year, we have historically taken an action to approve transfers of $5,000 for the last month of the year, based on you and the town administrative officer. And since we're not going to be meeting again till after the 1st of June, should we take that up at this meeting?
I certainly will entertain that motion if that's what you'd like.
Yes, just to keep in what we've done each year to make the town run properly and smoothly for the last month of the year, I'd make that motion.
Okay. Is there a second to the
I'll second
motion?
that.
It's been moved moved by Mike Aramita, seconded by Bob Mora, to allow the first selectman and the town administrator to approve transfers less than $5,000 to be reported to the Board of Selectmen at their next meeting between now and the end of the fiscal year. Any other discussions, questions? All right, I'm going to call for a vote on that motion, and thank you, Mike, for bringing that up.
We might have missed it. It's that time of year.
Yeah. Kim, are you voting?
Yeah, I was voting yes. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
I had my hand up and then put it, I didn't realize you didn't see it.
Yeah, no, I thank you for, on that was unanimous. I saw 5 hands. I just want to flip back to the consensus on returning the $125,000 to the Board of Finance, which will bring our total to $300,000.
Only barring no unforeseen emergencies.
Yeah, well, if you stop and think about it, Mike, last year, we did have an unforeseen emergency with Enrico Road. And brought that to the attention of the Board of Finance as we were closing out the fiscal year, and told them we would be returning the funds, but we would also be asking them for additional funds at the beginning of the year. And when Jim and I and Jill met the other day, I did express my concerns about not leaving us with a cushion, if you will, because we can always return more, and we will at the end of the fiscal year should some of the expenditures planned not happen.
Yeah, I'm in favor of that, but they need to know that God forbid something happen that we need cash immediately, that we might have to alter that a little bit.
We'll make sure they understand that. Thank you. All right. So that is consensus. All right, I think that brings me to the first selectman's report and the update of the Board of Finance actions on the budget. we have, as of right now, the Board of Finance has reduced the budget for the Board of Selectmen by $30,000 in anticipation of the savings on health insurance. We did get the final numbers from the state partnership plan. The premiums were actually slightly less than originally predicted. So there will be at least that amount in savings and potentially even more. It depends, open enrollment, as Jim noted at a prior meeting, won't happen until, actually, I think it begins next week or the week after. And May 5th, 10th, next week, and continues for 2 weeks. So we should have that answer relatively shortly about what our actual savings will be. Hopefully we won't have to go to a second referendum, but if we do, we should have those in, we should have hard numbers.
And is that also same time frame for the Board of Education?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Yes, both the Board of Ed and the town will have that open enrollment will close on the same day. The individual employee contributions differ between the Board of Ed and the Board of and town proper. However, the premiums from the state plan are the same regardless of where the employee is. So it's the town and so the actual budgetary contribution may change. So the Board of Finance is meeting Thursday night to finalize the budget. Under COVID-19, as I mentioned to Pam earlier in the meeting, our Emergency Management Committee continues to meet weekly. We are planning on having all town employees return to town offices on June 7th. Any town employees who has a concern about their personal safety in that return has been asked to reach out to Jim Rupert, and we will address on an individual basis anyone who chooses or who has concerns and work with them to provide a safe environment for them. As of today, we have 281 cumulative COVID cases in Bolton. 160 of those have happened in 2021. So that's more than an average of 1 case per day. It's almost 2 cases per day, new cases in town. So spread is still out there. About not quite 50% of our population has had 1 vaccine shot, and about 42% of our population has received 2 shots. I'm pretty sure that a lot of those numbers are people who are not yet eligible, meaning they're our under 16 crowd. I don't know what the population of over 16 versus under 16 in Bolton is, but we're working on a state population number of 4,884. The Census Bureau has not yet released town by town numbers, so we don't know what that census is yet. And I had something under other and it's totally gone. Jim, I'm going to turn this over to you, and maybe it'll come back to me.
Let's hope, or it's not important.
But both of the above probably.
So Sandy filled everybody in on the employee health benefit change. Staff is working very hard on this. As you might imagine, there's an awful lot of moving pieces when you're changing insurance companies. And both the finance department and the staff in the selectman's office have been working really, really hard to affect those changes, as I'm sure similar staffing at the Board of Education has been doing. But it's really going pretty well. And, I think at the end of the day, we did get 100% buy-in from all of the unions. And I think the staff, although they don't like change, are going to be appreciative of the new insurance. I think they'll find it a lot easier to navigate than the high deductible plan. And certainly the coverage and the benefits are really very robust. I don't believe anybody feels like they're losing anything. So that's really important to know in the grand scheme of things. But we will be getting the paperwork out for the open enrollment here. Our goal is by Friday at the very latest to have that information out to staff so they can even begin over the weekend filling out their paperwork and turning it in when open enrollment opens on the 10th. Beyond that, I'm transitioning into the new role. I have to say that, we have really great teams in place, both in the selectman's office, in the land use office. And that's really allowing me to be able to step away from some of the responsibilities in the land use office and really focus on my new role in the selectman's office. To that end, I have worked in increasing both Randy's hours and Danielle's hours, and we'll be looking at some other changes probably, for the first of the fiscal year that will help me to shed some additional responsibilities between now and later on in next fiscal year. And that's really what I have at the moment. Does anybody have any questions for me?
Just a comment. I appreciate your administration's passing out information. One of the things I've appreciated is when there's a question, I get a phone call. As not the biggest tech guy in the world, I do appreciate that rather than just a text message.
Thank you, and I appreciate all of you. I'm no Josh Kelly, but I did my best tonight with the Zoom meeting, and I'm gaining in my Zoom skills every time we do this. So hopefully I'll get there. And I'm learning every step of the way. And Bob Mora asked me the other day how things are going, and I said, Sandy has been incredibly patient with me, and she's been very helpful in giving me the guidance that I need as I make this transition. So things are going in the right direction.
Good, excellent.
And Jim, I totally agree that things are going in the right direction. And I do remember what it was that I wanted to share. I just wanted to mention to members of the Board of Selectmen that Planning and Zoning is meeting tomorrow night.
Yeah.
There are several proposals on their agenda. One is
The mobile station.
one is the mobile station, which will be a complete raise of the building and the car wash and a rebuild with a new pump configuration, less pumps, and a totally different building. There is no drive-through at this building, at least in the current proposal. And then the other item on their agenda is the proposal for a retail office development on the property that abuts the Bolton dental office. And that will also be presented tomorrow night. So if you are interested in either of those, the agenda is posted on the town's website. The information packet that's shared with the Planning and Zoning Group is posted on the town's website. And if you'd like Zoom access, please reach out to either Jim or Gary Silver in the selectman's office to get that link. Is there any other business to come before the Board of Selectmen? Mike?
Yeah, if you'd give me a couple of minutes, I'd like to kind of toss out an idea, not something for discussion or debate tonight, but something that we should maybe think about and come back and meet either in subcommittees or another meeting. And it has to do with the old school, which is an albatross around our necks that we pay a lot of money each year to maintain for a very small staff that's there. And in the same vein or a different vein, which I talked to Bobby Moore about a year or so ago, so it's not something new that I'm just coming up with. The shared services that we're trying to do town-wide is, and to consolidate and save ourselves some money and be more efficient. And as I look at our budget, which is $20 million, give or take a little bit, it's a fairly small budget when you consider the towns in the state and the staffs that they have budget wise. And we have about 70-30 split, something like that, between the Board of Ed budget and the town budget. So it makes our budget relatively small, what, $6 million, something like that. And we support in town 2 finance directors, one for the Board of Ed and one for the town. And my recommendation, or an idea thrown out, is I think we could do very well with 1 finance director. And I think if we took our 2 staff members from the old school and moved them to the Board of Ed to assist the Board of Ed finance director taking on the town's portion of financing, being the director of finance, I think we could immediately or very quickly thereafter eliminate that school and the massive costs that come with that, heating it and air conditioning and everything else with roof leaks that go on all year. And I think in the vein of shared services, we took on the custodial and building maintenance for the schools, and maybe this time it's time for them to take on the finance role for us. And as I said, we have 2 finance directors, one that's in charge of 14 million and one that's in charge of 6 million, and we pay significant salaries to these 2 people. I think that moving the 2 staff members to the Board of Education offices eliminates the problem with the school and people. We have a couple of part-timers, but I think we could move them either to the old Pastrito property or something like that, and move them over and assist the Board of Ed finance department in taking on our finance management roles, and eliminate the town's finance director, which would save us significant money. And I think the significant money is worth looking into that savings. And I think the building, the old school building, warrants looking into that. And I think it has some very good merit long-term for the town. So it's something I'm throwing out, and I'd like everybody to just think about it and think about how it could actually be an improvement to our operation. Significant savings because of the building, significant savings because of the reduction in personnel, and the fact that it's not a big deal for a finance director to handle a $20 million budget. We have finance directors all over the state that handle budgets much larger than that with staff smaller than we have. So I think it's an idea that we should look forward, look to the future for. I would love to see it happen before next winter, so we're not heating that building to a great expense and not doing any more maintenance on that building. So just tossing it out, food for thought, take it home, think about it, and maybe we can discuss this at a subcommittee meeting coming up or another meeting, but I think it warrants a good examination. I think we're paying too much for 2 finance directors, one of which only handles a small budget in comparison to other communities. And I think the savings for the building and the maintenance and everything else that goes with it, we could raise the building immediately then and get rid of it. And I think there's room at the school for those 2 people. And I think with those 2 people aiding with the school's finance director, I think that person could take the entire town budget on with little or no change to their department. But anyway, it's food for thought. I want to throw it out there. I think it's something we need to examine. And like I said, I mentioned this to Bobby Moore a year or so ago, and it's been on my mind continuously since then. And I think in the spirit of shared services, in the spirit of saving money, in the spirit of getting rid of that Albatross building, which I wanted to save, but we couldn't, I think this is something we should seriously consider. And I thank you for the time.
Thank you, Mike, for those comments. We have a shared services committee between the town proper and the Board of Education. Unfortunately, due to COVID taking up all of our free time and then some, we haven't met in, I'm going to guess, since last January.
It's been a long time.
January of 2020. And it probably will not start up in the short term. I agree with you about that building. I don't see that building reopening anytime soon, simply because it does not have the air handling qualities required for safe public use. And in fact, our employees would love to get out of there in a heartbeat. Based on some conversations I've had with the superintendent of schools, there is not space at the school, at the Board of Education offices for additional staff. So I'm not sure moving them there is the right answer. The Pastrito property is not a suitable location, because as long as it's used for the state police office, we don't have the ability to cordon off access that would be necessary for the finance department.
I wasn't thinking of the finance department. I'm thinking of the registrars of voters
Oh.
needing some space, which is just very limited part-time. Those are the only other ones that would be in the building. And
Yeah,
I
they
think,
wouldn't.
I think all of these situations could be accommodated, but I think we need to think about it. I think this is something that would benefit the town in a lot of ways. And it's something that I, like I said, I didn't want to get into a debate tonight because all the information is not known, and we haven't taken time to discuss this or research this or anything. It's simply an idea that I'm throwing out that I would like us to think about and begin to at least evaluate. And I think it has merit for the reasons I said: shared services, getting rid of the building, and reducing personnel costs. And I think it has merit, and we have to research it. And I'm just throwing it out. It's not, I'm not doing it so we can have a big discussion tonight. I think there's other places where we should have discussions: shared services, personnel, facilities, all of that are the locations where we should discuss this. But I think it's something that we should at least give honest consideration to. And if it turns out it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But I think it has merit, and I think it can work. And I think it can do those three things: shared services, save money, and eliminate the need for that building that we're paying all kinds of money for. So it's food for thought at our subcommittees, and food for thought before the subcommittees. Think about ways that it could happen, and if you want to think the opposite, think about ways it can't happen. But I think if we look at it positively, I think it could be a good move for the town. So we have lots of places where we can discuss this with staff that might help us, and things like that. So anyway, that's my thought. And take it to heart, take it home, whatever. Thank you.
Thank you for those comments. Anything else before I adjourn this meeting? I would request from the Board of Selectmen a motion to go into executive session to discuss the supervisor's contract and to include our interim town administrator, Jim Rupert, in that discussion.
So moved.
Thank you. It's been moved by Bob Mora. Is there a second?
I'll second. No, Kim can second.
Okay, it's been seconded by Mike Aramita. All those in favor, raise your hand. Bob DiPietro, I see your hand. That is unanimous. There are 5 hands up. Yvonne, should we have any action after we come out of the meeting? Jim Rupert will notify you of that for the minutes, as well as our net adjournment time. So we will be moving into executive session. I'm going to ask all those who are not on the Board of Selectmen or Jim Rupert to disconnect at this time. And thank you for your attendance and attention this evening.
Good night all.